It is hard to find the right partner. Who is the right one? Who has the most to offer? Not only among humans do we find females flocking around alpha males. Many animal species do the same thing. But what are the real motives behind the choice of partner? Like many bird species, blue tits form long-term partnerships. Socially, they are monogamous. It takes both partners to raise their young. A pair of blue tits will fly back to the nest some 500 times every day. And this is their preferred food, caterpillars. But they have to be looked for and carried back. With an average of 10 to 12 hungry beaks to be filled, it is an exhausting business. And yet this social monogamy does not always result in sexual faithfulness. Having a fling has definite advantages for the males. They can increase the number of offspring they produce by having sex with other females, but without having to care for the additional young. But what advantages do females have if they mate with several males? The Belgian scientist Bart Kempenaars at the Max Planck Institute for Ornithology is studying this very question. He wants to find out the costs and benefits of this behavior. Behavior only survives in evolutionary terms if it is useful, for example, by increasing biological fitness.
I'm interested in the mating behavior of animals, especially the variations in the pairing system and the choice of females. What we're studying here is the evolution of promiscuity or infidelity. In other words, how males and females choose their partners and why they are then unfaithful.
His laboratory is a plot of woodland with 277 nesting boxes, all carefully numbered. But with all the comings and goings, how can you find out who mates with whom and how often it happens? In order to find that out, the scientists in Zeewes and in Bavaria use high technology. They are using detective work to record the bird's behavior more or less continuously. In order to spy on the nesting boxes, they equip them with cameras, microphones, and sensor coils by the entrance holes. And the birds are fitted out with a transponder, a sort of electronic tag. That way they can draw up an informative movement profile. Mid-May in the woods near Landsberg, the scientists have an ambitious program. During this season, they want to capture 120 to 200 parent birds which already have chicks in their nest. Each of the over 200 nesting boxes will later be evaluated. It is not exactly easy to capture the adult birds, but the high-tech nesting boxes help.
I've got one.
The ornithologists need to be quick to ensure no birds escape. They are carefully packed into special bags.
I'm coming over to the bus.
The parent birds are ringed and measured directly in the wood. Most importantly, a sample of blood is taken to determine the bird's genetic fingerprint. This will enable the scientists to see later whether it really is the biological father of its brood or simply the foster father. Now the bird is allowed to return to its young. The proof. This contains the blood sample which will tell us the truth. The only real way of proving infidelity is by genetic analysis. Since all the birds in the research area are recorded, the genetic paternity test will prove which chick came from which father. A few days later, this time the scientists remove the chicks from the nesting boxes. This is an easy task, since they cannot fly yet. They are only 14 days old and are ringed and weighed. And they also have to surrender a drop of blood for the paternity test. This little bundle of fluff weighs 10 grams, almost as much as its parents. The scientists want to know, are chicks from other fathers the rule or the exception among blue tits? They can tell this from the revealing sections of DNA called alleles. Each chick inherits one version from each of its parents, represented by the numbers. The mother has the alleles 200 and 233. The chick has definitely inherited one allele from her. But the father has alleles 200 and 212. The chick does not have either variant. That means that the social father is definitely not the biological father. This applies to about 15% of all the chicks.
Infidelity probably doesn't plunge the blue tit into a relationship crisis because the females are very clever and the males probably don't even know.
Now that's smart. The adultery takes place at dawn. The female creeps out of the nest while her husband is still asleep or filling the wood with song. So the female prompts the affair actively. But why does she do that? Unlike the male, she only has a limited number of precious eggs.
You can summarize it by saying sperm is cheap, but eggs are expensive, because the females lay a specific number of eggs. In the case of blue tits, for example, an average of 10. And whether the female mates with one male, or 2, or 3, she will not produce a large number of young. But what we have discovered is that she will produce chicks of a higher quality. So the chicks resulting from the extramarital affair are in better condition and are more likely to survive.
So the female doesn't just accept any blue tit that comes flying past. The partner with whom she raises her chicks should be a caring nesting box owner. But that doesn't make him by any means the ideal choice. So, for her affair, she will look out for exotic lovers from territory that is further away, who she can be sure are not related to her in any way. These males have something valuable to offer, new genetic variants.
The females choose partners who are genetically different from themselves. By doing so, they not only avoid incest, but also increase the genetic diversity of their offspring.
But if there is no blue tit from far-off regions with fresh genetic material available, then a female blue tit will accept a male from the neighboring tree. But by no means just any old blue tit. He must be older and have survived the winter. That means he has good genetic material, and good genes promise better disease resistance for her young.
The females have one social partner. Their only possibility for finding a better genetic partner is by having an affair. It enables them to shop for good genes.
When it comes to children, women also often choose men according to status and earning power. That is by no means an invention of the advertising agencies. It is part of our evolutionary heritage and is deeply rooted in the human psyche. For blue tits, this so-called shopping for good genes can be essential for survival. Because from a brood of 10 baby blue tits, usually only 1 or 2 birds will survive until the next spring. That shows just how important behavior strategies like this can be.